And so can you tell us some of the things, some of the pillars of your campaign and your platform and what you want people in the Miami Gardens area to know about what you want to bring as if elected mayor of Miami Gardens?
So again, my name is Lavern Deer, and I am the candidate for mayor of Miami Gardens. I am an advocate. I advocate to make Florida the first state to teach human trafficking education in schools. And I did that by working with various municipalities, advocating and educating them around the danger signs of human trafficking. And because they are policymakers, they were the ones that I felt would have been more suitable to help make this change and this impact. And so by my experience with doing that and working in government as well, I have over 14 years working in the government sector. I worked on the commission level as the chief commission's aide. So I understand how policy is, and of course, working with the businesses who come in to seek support for their businesses, as well as I work on the community level. And so through my advocacy, I have worked with law enforcement, with the various businesses, and individuals saw the work that I do and that I am a result producing person. And so because of that, members of my community asked me, would I be interested in running? I was always a background behind the scene person, right? And so someone told me that it's okay. Leaders are also just as good being behind the scene. And so I took the offer to run and to step up front, to be that leader in my community. And so when I did my research before even coming to the forefront, I realized that Miami Gardens have a 15.4% poverty rate, which is higher than the state of 12, I'm sorry, yeah, much higher than the state, which is at 12.7. And so, when you look at the mothers who have a dream for their children and want life to be better than theirs, we have to be able to address those issues that are affecting them. So that's one of the things that I want to do, is to be able to bring government back to the people, to help those struggling mothers who are struggling. Also, one of the issues that I see in my community is the youth are being involved in being idle, and not enough programs out there for them to be involved in. So they're out there doing things that more than likely they shouldn't do. So, public safety is one of my priority, actually my top priority in my campaign. And so I am looking to work with nonprofit organizations who have that at the forefront. There's a nonprofit organization called Community Youth Against Violence that I have met with on several occasions. And recently they had a meeting with about 14 municipalities of law enforcement at a roundtable. And so they're looking to implement a program called Teen Curfew, where this program is if there's children under the age of 17 that are on the streets by themselves at a certain time, law enforcement will pick them up. If it becomes a repeat offense, the parents get a ticket. So what that does now is it engaged the parents now to start being more involved and responsible of the whereabouts of their children. And then that also allows for an interjection of social services to where, okay, if this is happening multiple times, how do we interject social services into that? Another area of my concern is, as I'm going out into the neighborhood, I realize that a lot of our seniors and members of the community are losing their homes. Homeowners affordability, housing affordability, that's a big topic on people's list right now. And so one of the things that I would like to do when going in office is to enforce rent control laws to, allow landlords not to raise a rent within a certain period of time at a certain percentage. And of course, that they ensure that there's collaboration between local government, nonprofit organization, because people underestimate nonprofit organizations. You can get a lot done through various nonprofit organizations. And so that now could help bring a pillar onto government. And of course, educating our young homeowners. One of the things, as I was traveling, I met this young lady who she went off to college. And then she came back home and she was telling me, oh, my grandmother wants me to live here, but, I don't really want to stay here. And I had to convince her why she should stay here. Your grandmother is seeking to build generational wealth. And so this is something, you live in Miami Gardens, the value of the homes in Miami Gardens is pretty high. And so you want to be able to maintain that. However, one of the things that we need to do is teach them about their credit, how to maintain good credit, financial responsibility. So then they will be able to maintain the expenses and continue onto that generational wealth. Incentivize businesses to come into our city and of course, come in our city, as well as helping those programs and that I talk about. You can merge a business with these programs that makes them more civically engaged. And so one of the things that I would like to do is work with our businesses who wants to work with our community. So these are things in community, helping to build community development. So the residents of Miami Gardens can feel as though, they're a part of the city, and the struggles that they have, which we all face struggles, growing up every now and then, but that they can overcome those struggles and government can really help to support them.
Oh, thank you for breaking that down. And thank you for taking the call to action. You mentioned that the people in the community asked you to, run for office. They saw you as a leader. Is this your first time running for office? And if so, can you explain what you think you'll bring different than the current administration?
So I ran in 2020, right before the pandemic. That was my first time. However, I've been
What
involved
uh what race was that for?
for mayor
Oh, for
as
mayor.
well.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes. And after I didn't win, I went and I met with the mayor who won, and I offered my services at the time. And so I got involved and stay engaged. I was appointed to the $60 million bond oversight committee. So I served and represented District 1 on that committee. I continue, there's a meeting called UPPAC every Saturday that is led by Commissioner Betty Ferguson.
Familiar
And
with it.
so, yes, 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 yes. And so I stayed engaged every Saturday. I attended those meetings for that 4 years. And so I stayed engaged and heard the concerns that residents would discuss, learn about some of the issues that they're having. And so one of the biggest issue that, I notice right now is a lot of the residents do not know that they can come to government for services, right? So for example, I received a call from someone who is in Broward, and their response was, well, I have someone who live in Miami Gardens that's seeking services. So he didn't know where in Miami Gardens to go for the help. So he called someone in Broward, and that's someone in Broward who knows me because I work in Broward. I've always lived in Miami, in Dade County, Miami Gardens. And so they reached out to me. And because I understand how government should work for the people, I was able to reach out to someone who worked in Miami-Dade County Elderly and Veterans Affairs, explain to them what the issue was. And immediately they were able to collect the information for this elderly and then connect that person to services by the next day. So, that's one of the biggest issues that we have with our residents here. They don't know and understand how government should work for them. Another issue that I see is the communication level. I attend the council meetings. And so when you go to the council meetings and you present an issue, they give you an opportunity to present the issue. You get 2 minutes to speak. But when you present the issue, you're asked to step aside and that someone will reach out to you. Well, I've experienced this myself where I presented problems that was urgent problems and was asked to step aside and someone would reach out to me, but no one ever contacted me. And so that was something that I felt was of an urgent need. There was this light pole that was down in one of the community, and that resident have children in the home, and the wires were hanging in the backyard. So they have been complaining since November of last year. And so when I went and I met the resident and she showed me, immediately I was able to come back, contact FPL, reach out to FPL, send them a video of what was happening, send them an email, and put, of course, an urgency to it. And in no time, they reached out back to me and say they're going to assign it to someone in the community. Well, long story short, within 3 weeks, That pole was changed, was the old pole was removed, and then new wires was added on, and that pole now has been fixed within that resident home. And so when you look at things like that, residents needs to be able to feel as though their government understand the urgency of their problems. When I presented that to the council members, I was told, go to the side, someone will reach out to you. No one ever did. So I took it upon myself to do that. And so that's one of the, a big area, because government is supposed to work for the people. You work for the businesses, it works for the residents to ensure that their quality of life is where it should be. And so what I am looking to propose to solve that issue is, when someone comes and presents a problem, first of all, they shouldn't have to come to council meeting to do that. They should be able to reach out to their individual council members and present that problem through an email. And then that council member should have their staff now reach out to the various agencies to address that issue and bring the resolution back to the council staff and let that staff now bring it back to the resident. And that's how I propose in bringing solution. So this way, the resident don't have to go, and then you go into the council meeting, you're hearing it's just a bunch of complaints and people are frustrated. And then it seems as though, there's no decorum in the room. And so, I want to be able to alleviate that. So when we go to the council meeting, we can handle business, and the residents will already have their problems resolved.